everyone, welcome back into another video. Going to be breaking down the showdown slate here between the Kansas City Chiefs and the New Orleans Saints. Let's go and get into it. So as always, I do like starting out with the game preview here, build out the expectations for that game. And so looking at it, guys, it is a 43 for the game total, which that does feel right. Both teams are having some injuries to them that I think are pretty significant, especially for their offenses. And we'll touch on that in a second. The Chiefs are going to be 5.5-point favorites, which again, that does seem maybe a little bit strange, I would say. We've had some interesting lines. I would have put this more at probably 2.5 in favor of the Chiefs winning, just simply because you're taking out two of their best offensive weapons now. Rashid Rice is going to be out. Obviously, Marquise Brown is still out. And Isaiah Pacheco has been out as well. And so, yes, Kareem Hunt came in and looked pretty good in replace of Isaiah Pacheco. Actually, I was very impressed with Kareem Hunt. I thought he looked fresh. We'll see if that lasts throughout the whole season, but he probably will be the running back number one. And sure, it took Hunt a while into the game to really get going in terms of getting snaps, but I'm pretty sure he will be the top running back. To me, this was a lot like the LA Rams situation at running back last year, where when the RB1 Kyron Williams got injured and then the RB2 Ronnie Rivers was injured, we actually saw Kareem Hunt just get in there, or sorry, we saw Darrell Henderson get picked up from the team or from free agency and be the starter for the team throughout that duration that Kyron Williams was out. That's basically how this is playing out for the Kansas City Chiefs, where obviously Pacheco's out. He was the RB1. CH, kind of their RB2. He's kind of had some different things going on, but he's been out. Then they're forced to go with Carson Steele for a little bit, but then they signed Kareem Hunt, who has been familiar with this offense in the past. And so it does make sense for him to be the guy, and I do expect him to be the guy. And so the biggest thing that I'm questioning is who is going to be that receiver that steps up to them to be kind of that receiver number one. And so it is honestly tough to say. Like, to me, the player that actually probably benefits the most is both Noah Gray and also Travis Kelce. We saw Travis Kelce go in and instantly have a very big game. And what's weird about Kelce this season compared to all of his other ones is there wasn't really a rhyme or reason as to why he hadn't been productive the first few games. A lot of the times with tight ends, they're just really not a part of the game script or the scheme, if you will. And that seemed to be the case with Kelce. And now he's going to be forced into this bigger role. Throughout the year last year, they were wanting to save him to keep him fresh for the playoffs. Well, they're not going to have that choice this year. And so Travis Kelce, I do expect a big game out of him. But at the same time, Noah Gray is someone that they like. Now, his snaps didn't go up that much. I actually thought we'd see just a lot more two tight end sets. That didn't exactly happen. Noah Gray still played the same amount of snaps, but we did see him get a little bit more targets. 4 targets in that game. That was his most of the season thus far. He's someone that typically won't get blanked in terms of targets as well. I do expect him to have a pretty decent game. I do expect him to, he's someone that has Patrick Mahomes' trust. So I do expect him to have a decent game in this game as well. I expect his role to be slightly elevated, even if that's not in the case of the snaps. And so that being said, yes, Xavier Worthy was the one that had the most snaps, but Xavier Worthy is more of a big play receiver. I don't really see him being that possession receiver that they really need him to be. Juju got 50% of the snaps, which Juju's definitely washed, but he's being thrust in that role. Good for him, I guess. I don't know. It's weird. I don't love it. I mean, obviously, Justin Watson's the one that got the biggest increase of snaps, and he does have Patrick Mahomes' trust. They like Justin Watson there a decent amount. He'd be the one that I would naturally want to get to the most. But, I don't know, his production is just not going to go up. I don't really see it going up. Sure, he'll probably get a deep shot or two. Maybe we can bank on him catching one of those. But it doesn't really seem fruitful for me. And so for the Saints, we take a look at their pretty sizable injuries that they've had thus far. The biggest one to me, though, is going to be Taysom Hill being out this week as well. That really brings up two crucial aspects. One, we actually saw a little bit more snaps go to Alvin Kamara last week. We also saw him get some goal line work, and also Derek Carr got a goal line carry as well. With Taysom Hill being out, I just think that kind of solidifies Alvin Kamara's role in terms of getting those traditional running back snaps, which is pretty big for him. Also, tight end wise, Foster Moreau and Juwan Johnson, we're going to see them play a decent amount as well. Juwan Johnson obviously gets a big bump with Taysom Hill being out, playing as more of the traditional tight end, but both those two are players that should get a decent amount of work, but this does really just make the offense be more traditional, which I think hurts the offense as a whole, but does help out in terms of predictability. We can bank on Alvin Kamara having a very good role. We can bank on Taysom Hill not stealing snaps away from Derek Carr, so that should lead to at least more goal line carries for Alvin Kamara or more red zone passes for Derek Carr, thus increasing the likelihood for him to score a passing touchdown. So like that should help out the predictability for this game. Now both defenses are pretty good. That is a little bit of a worry as well. But looking at the pass catchers, it is both these teams are very concentrated in terms of who we're looking at for the most part. Looking at these snaps here for the Saints, obviously the receivers Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed are going to be the two that we're looking at, and then Alvin Kamara, and then a little bit Derek Carr. So with that, guys, let's go ahead and get into the picks. All right, so let's actually start out with Xavier Worthy here for the Chiefs. For me, guys, if I'm playing Xavier Worthy, I'm probably just playing him in the captain spot. To me, that's the way to go, because either he's having a big game and he's really going to reward you guys in the captain spot, or he's just kind of that big play receiver that doesn't hit any big plays in this game. So for me, the way I'm getting exposure to him is going to be in the captain spot. I'll have higher exposure to him in the captain spot than I will to him in the flex spot. To me, that's going to be worthwhile. I don't really think this price for Patrick Mahomes is really justified. He has been very consistent as a fantasy producer, though. And so like I think you can get away with playing him a little bit, but like I don't think we need to be going crazy with him as a play. He's not a must play. To me, the must plays for the Chiefs are Travis Kelce. Travis Kelce, I think he'll be forced into a bigger role, and thus I think I really like Travis Kelce. And then Kareem Hunt. Again, just I think this will be his role. It's a little bit risky, don't get me wrong, because we don't know for sure that this is going to be his role, but I do fully expect it to be his role. And so I'm happy to get there with him. And then from there, obviously the Chiefs defense and also Harrison Buckner, we're going to be looking at those two. Justin Watson's at a very good price tag. He should be a safe play for us. I really don't mind that. But for me, I really like Noah Gray at his price tag. Again, I think he's going to have a kind of salvageable role for us. Thus, I'm going to be happy to get to Noah Gray. And then from there, guys, let's go ahead and jump into the Saints. So the only issue with Alvin Kamara is that he does get a tough matchup. Now, I'm not too worried about that. Like, I think if they need to get him involved in the passing game, they will. He's been very productive and honestly has looked great. That's probably one of my bigger takeaways for Alvin Kamara is that he really has looked great. It's not fluky, making big plays, looks like his normal self. So, I'd much rather get to Alvin Kamara than I would Patrick Mahomes. From there, Chris Olave, been very consistent. Again, with this being more of a traditional offense, I think he's going to get more targets. The thing that stood out to me on film last week for Chris Olave was the fact that he was involved pretty early on in that game, which in some games this season, it took a while for him to get going. So again, I really just think he's a safe and reliable option for us. And this is how easy it is to make a quality build here, especially if you're not playing Patrick Mahomes. So from there, we could really play whoever we want. Obviously, Derek Carr has been pretty good. I do worry that he's so hit or miss. That's the issue. I would almost use the Xavier Worthy rule with Derek Carr, where if we're playing him, we're probably just playing him in the captain spot. I do worry at that price that we might not be able to get him to pay that off. Rashid Shaheed is someone that I don't mind as a play. He has been decently involved as well. And they like him. They clearly like him there. And again, with this being more of a traditional offense, I do gravitate more towards Shaheed as a play. From there, I don't mind mixing in the tight ends. The tight ends are both in phenomenal matchups. Do I know which one it's going to be? I don't. And I think anyone saying that they do would be lying to you guys. The fact of the matter is we probably want exposure to both of them. Do I like them more than Noah Gray? Not exactly, no, I would say. But given the pricing, I probably would want to get to one of the two. Now, I do want to remind you guys about Foster Moreau. In week 2, he did have a touchdown that was called back. It was something away from the play, and it was really good play design there. Since then, been a little bit hit or miss. Juwan Johnson has been a little bit more trustworthy. So I think I would favor Juwan Johnson a little bit more there. And then let's try to close out this build. So for me, again, I probably just will be getting to Travis Kelce in that captain's spot. Then we have about 6K left over, kind of a dead range, honestly, on these slates. So I don't love that. Now, an idea I don't mind is doing something like this where we're kind of punting a little bit. Now, again, typically speaking on a showdown slate, we want to get in a kicker or DST, at least one of them. For these first look builds, I'm never going to toss that in there for the most part, but I think this build gives us all the players that we can bank on having a good floor, having a big role. And I think this build gives us a nice solid floor. We're not really fading any of the top fantasy producers. Yes, not being on the 2 quarterbacks is a little bit of a concern. And again, naturally speaking, I will be getting on to some of the kickers and DSTs using the 9-to-5 lineup builder. So let's take a peek at that. And so for this slate, guys, I think instead of doing like exactly one of a DST and kicker in every build, I might do at least one. And I don't exactly love that. I probably do want to cap it, but I think at least one. And what we'll do is we'll set it as the kicker DST in the flex. And then if we naturally get a kicker or DST in the captain spot, I'm kind of okay with that. This is actually a rule that helped me win one GPP. In general, though, the other two GPPs that I won showdown wise were by doing exactly one of a kicker or DST in all my builds. The reason why I'm doing that is because this slate, I do think it's going to be more of an offensive struggle. And so I do think there's a chance that the kickers and DST are a little bit more fruitful. And so in simple, Blake Groupie in the flex, Harrison Buckner in the flex, and then really Chiefs D in the flex for sure, and then Saints D in the flex for sure. I'd be fine getting Groupie or Harrison Buckner in my captain spot, but I don't know if we need to do that. So we'll click generate here just to see what it spits out to us with no other data points that we're telling it to do. So it views the top lineup then as Alvin Kamara, Harrison Buckner, Justin Watson, Patrick Mahomes, Saints D, and Travis Kelce. I'm fine with that. And actually, let's change this. Yeah, because I'm not doing the captain's picks, I am going to change this to exactly one. That makes more sense. So I'm going to click back into that. I'm going to do exactly one because I don't mind if I have a kicker in the captain spot, but I don't want two of the non-traditional positions in the flex. And so this is going to be better. So yeah, I like this better. So Travis Kelce in the captain spot, Alvin Kamara, Harrison Buckner, Cole Hardman, kind of okay with that. He's too cheap. That's the thing, guys. We can put in a little bit of Austin Moreau. We can put in potentially Juju. We can put in a lot of those values that are there and feel pretty good about it. So actually, I like these builds. These are pretty solid. But that is going to be all for this video, guys. Make sure to give a like and subscribe to the channel. Do appreciate the support. As you guys saw this week, putting out a lot more content, a lot more concentrated content. No longer working on a lot of the NFL DFS tools. Those are all good to go for you guys. And as always, I'm going to be adding in more and more tools. But the bulk of the work is done, so I can do a lot more content for you guys. So make sure to give a like and subscribe. Do appreciate that. Good luck with your builds. And as always, let's keep cashing.